On coming of age, or during a major life transition, a traditional Native American would undertake a vision quest. One is taken to a remote spot to sit for days without food, water, or human companionship, and cry for a vision, for the spirits to send a sign or a dream to indicate one's path in life, and to grant a gift or boon by which they might fulfill it. In crying for a vision, one must have faith that someone hears. The kind of faith I'd begun to lose sight of as I'd gotten older, and needed to recover in some measure if I was to find a way forward. For nearly 10 years I had lived in the city, had come to believe that I'd found a home there, thought I'd found family, vocation, and calling. Now I was not so sure. Everything was slipping. Those words I had been given, the hope and the promise, where had they gone? The vision seemed lost. I grope like a blind man, stumbling at noon, in spite of much knowledge and gathered wisdom, dreams, and prophecies I had been given. Still, nothing made sense, nothing could fill the void I fell into when I discovered the shattered place hidden, the darkness within. I have no father, resounds through its spaces as through a cave the sun never reaches. I headed for the mountains, for Sequoia National Park in the Sierras. I arrived in the giant forest just as night was falling. Having little time to get oriented, I found a rock by a clearing and bedded down amid a darkness one seldom encounters in today's light-polluted world. Then lay awake for hours wondering where I was and what lay hidden in the shadows around me, and in the gaping hole I discovered within me. I've heard that God does his best creative work in a vacuum. Then he would have plenty to work with. As in the beginning. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Now the earth was formless and void, and darkness was over the face of the deep. I lay in my bag by a rock in a clearing, towering trees gathered close all around me, enormous, tall black shadowy columns framed between white shafts of moonlight, my first time alone in the deep forest night. I can't get to sleep. My breathing is heavy, my heart still pounding. Perhaps the exertion, or maybe the altitude, still unaccustomed, but every night sound jolts me awake, a beetle rustling in the litter, or a bear come looking for its dinner. I feel like a kid again, having those nightmares. The world is again a wilderness, mapless, trackless, signless, an apparition formed of half-dreamed dreams and moonglow, a landscape of shifting light and shadow, the world itself an endless enigma, beyond my ken, as it's always been. At times I have thought, as I've gotten older, that it all might make sense, might fall together into some kind of meaningful pattern. Now it all seems illusion, a mental web spun of words and ideas, like civilization, a fictional thing of man's own creation, abstracted from nature and to it returning, a mushroom sprung up and gone in a morning. But these soaring giants still stand all around me as they have for ages, and the moon shining, and the stars peering down through the branches, this vast bright mystery arrayed all around me, something so real, so enduring and holy. And as I look up at the galaxy spinning in space, something tells me that there must be a path that yet shines for me, pointing me home to a bright place familiar where my name is yet written, like every star. And then again, as another has written, "What is man, that thou art mindful of him, moon so bright, naked light, is there news of home tonight? Can you speak to me of heaven? Do you see me, shining there so remote and impassive? Does anyone see?" Or am I alone? I long for some embrace, but feel none. Why are the stars so silent? What do the night noises mean? A passing bear or beetle, your footsteps, or the wind? Is this darkness but a passing shadow? Will I see the light of day again? Do you really see me? God, can you see me? Tell me my name, what I am here for, where my path leads. How I can get there. Look down from your heavens upon one who's lost, a fatherless child alone in the vastness with the prowling beasts and unknowable rustlings, clinging close to a rock in a clearing in the midst of a mountain forest at midnight. I think it goes back to that primal fear of abandonment which must be the root of all fears, including fear of the dark. We long for morning. Laying awake through the watches of night, awaiting the break of the first rays of light. And the one word to which I restlessly cling is the word of creation ordaining all things. Let there be light to scatter this darkness, beauty and order in place of these fragments. May all be made new as on that first morning, raised up in you, reflecting your glory, yours to complete, my unfinished story. My soul waits for the Lord more than watchmen for the morning, more than watchmen for the morning. Fear may endure for a night, but beauty comes in the morning. There is nothing like the beauty of newborn sunlight streaming through the eaves of a mountain forest. It's like being present at the creation, the first morning of which all poetry and song are but a remembrance. Waking with the first light of morning, a chorus of birdsong heralds the dawning. Radiance bursts in long yellow streamers, winding between the spires of the pines, binding the wounds and terrors of nighttime. Golden threads ray through the crown's weaving, working all the way down, stitching together a rich tapestry of the colors of forest, red, gold, and green. Like the monks of Kells in rapt meditation, I have sought in the dark for illumination, tracing the paths of truth's golden thread unbroken through the endless unfoldings of life and its movements, its complex design double helices close intertwined, expressions of the infinite mind begetting new creatures in space and in time, this never-ending divine revelation, the Word made flesh through all of creation. As I walked the forest paths I came upon a hollow formed where 3 sequoias had fused at the base. I climbed inside and felt surrounded and embraced. Felt the green force rising up through trunk, branches, leaves, and into the blue beyond. As I wander this path I pause to consider 3 giant sequoias fused together, 3 veteran comrades supporting each other where fire has gutted out most of their centers. The walls are charred black, but still solid, forming a chamber. I enter in there and lay myself down on the bed of needles, feel myself drawn into communion with this great living thing in which I'm enfolded. I look up through the blue skylight window and think on what is there imaged, a symbol, 1 tree of 3 soaring into the heavens. I gaze and am drawn into rapt contemplation of the mystery miracle multiplication which engenders creation fish, loaves, and people, all born of a union of spirits together, of the great triune love here imaged above me, offspring of that divine communion which pulses the heart of all of creation, the sacred alchemical slow combustion, the slow waveform recrystallization of which every tree and leaf are sprung, the place where the hidden God seed ripens, whence the resurrection comes. I come to this chapel carved from the heartwood of ancient trees ravaged by fire to draw from their strength, to learn of their wisdom, to hide in their bosom and God's till I find it, until I be formed in the deep hidden places and come forth again a new creation. Creator, my Father, my Mother here imaged and sensed somehow in the life all around me, massive, embracing, rooting and reaching to earth below and to heaven above, I pray you form me within depths of silence, the womb of the world, the house of your spirit, form me as you are, to know you, to love you, my Father, my Mother, my own couldn't do it. They needed you too. As these seeds are formed to sprout into giants, towering over the rest of the forest, let me be formed within you, you in me, your very body broken to heal me. And as these roots and trunks draw the water of life from the ground to nourish the branches, so may your blood give life to my being, spirit, soul, body, root, branch, and leaf. For you created my inmost being, you knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made, your works are wonderful, I know that full well. My frame was not hidden from you when I was made in the secret place. When I was woven together in the deep places of the earth, your eyes saw my unformed body, Psalm 139. This is a different kind of knowing. Not the knowing of reason, but a knowing within, a knowing without the labor of thinking, words, and ideas, measures, descriptions, these unwieldy blocks of mental construction. A knowing you know that you know that you know, like you know your own heartbeat, living and breathing. True knowing is not of the mind, but when I look within, I find that I know these things quite well, more than any words can tell. It begins to dawn on me, sitting in the morning sun, wrapped within a reverie, that this is how true knowing comes. It falls like sunlight on the skin, like a warm and rushing wind bearing fragrances of spring, waking sleeping memory. It comes like music to the ears, enabling the heart to hear the great and hidden harmonies which lie behind the world we see. It strikes upon the inner eye as a face once known and loved, a vision of one's native land, or a brighter world above, a sense that I am not alone, although I've wandered far from home. I feel it deep within my bones, I know because I too am known. In time I was led into the heart of the forest, the most secluded and ancient groves of the giant sequoia. Massive organic outgrowths, towering columns supporting a green vaulted ceiling through which shafts of light poured as through the stained glass windows of a great cathedral. At their feet lay a deep silence. After long exploration I come now to rest in the innermost grove of the giant forest. Nothing stirs, peace reigns in stillness. A soft, thick carpet muffles all sound, and the trees soar so high above the ground that the sound of the wind rushing through their crowns are as but a whisper drifting down, like tidings from some distant land where man has never been. I look up in rapture at the sight of green vaulted spaces filled with light, a natural temple, a living cathedral whose soaring arches span the heavens like the world tree of ancient legend, Yggdrasil, sprung from earth's very center, its roots supporting her foundations, its branches holding up the sky, embracing all worlds and bridging between them, a temple creator and creature may meet in, a living sign of the indwelling presence in tangible things one can touch and see, yet with no loss of awe at the mystery, of the eternal's transcendence of all earthly dimensions and limits. I stand at their bases, they're wider than buildings. The arms of 10 men won't stretch full around them. I stand at a distance, but still there's no guessing, the eye has no yardstick, no scale to compare with. The arms and the eyes of a man cannot measure a thing seem sprung from another dimension. Yet there is harmony, balance, proportion, reason, order, uncanny perfection, such that I am given to wonder, how can thousands of tons of organic matter sprout from the ground and float as if weightless, sailing over the rest of the forest like a cloud in the sky, a thing made of vapor? It seems to contain its own laws and proportions which one may admire, though never quite grasp them. And could they speak, what could they tell us? Our lives, our works must seem indeed mushrooms sprung up overnight and gone in a morning, we high metabolic, chattering primates caught up in our perpetual brainstorm, spinning out phantomy webs of ideas, inscriptions, and images, cities and temples rising and falling while these remain standing, rooted and growing secure through the ages. How can we commune with such as these? I lean up against them, sit still and listen, and in time begin to sense them as powerful radios, bioantennae which help to pick up and translate those rhythms too slow and subtle, vast and deep for our senses to pick up on their own, yet they resonate within our bones, even as we drink their green fragrance, the distilled wisdom essence of the ages. Their line is among the oldest still living, dinosaurs may have fed on their branches. Some are as old as our civilizations, seedlings sprung when Pharaoh ruled Egypt, in vigor of youth when David sang praises, already great when Christ walked among us, much as they are when the white man came. Time's very substance, Earth's living record, the witness of the past in the present, scattering cones, the seeds of futures. So I was drawn into silent converse, a sympathy with and between all the living. In the wind in the treetops, in the rush of wings through sun-threaded spaces, in the deep throbbing boom of rock, wind, and pine, the voice of the great communion sounding from the sun-fire, the all-resounding Ahum, the great shout, I am, which pervades all the world. Wide mountain spaces, sheer granite walls, cradling ranges, canyons, and falls. Evergreen forest, tall stately pines wreathing the rock face where my feet climb. Wind in the treetops, a deep-sounding roar like long rolling breakers striking on shore. A hawk soars above me, all else is still, vast, empty spaces wait to be filled. The Welsh say that one who goes to sleep on a mountain wakes up either a poet or a madman. I'm not sure if there's a difference. It must be something in the air, or maybe the light. John Muir called these mountains the range of light. The white quartz granite seems to store up and shine back the sunlight which falls on them. It may be that its crystals conduct piezoelectric currents which trigger a heightening of sense. Or prolonged exposure to bright sunlight may stimulate the pineal gland, the third eye through which the things of this world may be transfigured in the light of another, as Muir's own writings suggest. So it seemed to me. For as I sat at the base of a giant, my gaze was drawn to a smaller tree, slender and graceful with well-formed boughs and a shimmering mantle of silvery green needles, glowing translucent, almost a window on the taller trees which stood behind it, and on something yet greater and brighter beyond. It seems to glow with a soft inner light, shine silently, speaking spirit to spirit. I love the young tree, feel there a kinship with something my own size, more like a brother than these towering giants around me gathered, something the mind of a man can grasp, though the essence slips away at last. When I finally shook myself free and went over to examine it, it turned out to be just a young lodgepole pine, no different from any other of its kind. So, what had I been seeing? What did Moses see in the desert? Whatever it was, it had opened up some non-ordinary state of perception. Something has happened. I seem to have fallen as through the light of a green keyhole window into some wide interior country, hidden yet plain in the world all around me, opening out in widening circles, clearer, brighter wherever I look. An uncoiling frond, a tender young sapling, wildflower faces filling a meadow, grasses bathed in golden beams, shooting up like tongues of flame, forms and colors without name, meanings writ in pattern and texture, in gossamer tracings in the air, a connective tissue of sight and sense, a transcendental radiance in which all being is immersed, embracing the world like an unseen sea. I rose and was led as by an unseen hand through green meadow pastures decked in flowers, like cups brimming over with liquid light, waving in unison with the wind and the silver singing of mountain streams. Tiny bright heralds sing in the sunshine, vanguard banners of lives advance over the broken granite plain, you claim the mighty mountains in the name of the living. Rooting in crevasses, wedging in cracks, caches of precious hoarded soil, lichen, moss, and wind-blown seeds, cradles of meadows and forests to be filled with bolder, taller things, yet no brighter nor more beautiful than these first children of the morning. I walked on. As I crested a ridge, a movement caught my eye. I froze in place. A lone deer grazes the edge of the meadow, haloed in innocent sunlight and flowers. She raises her ears, neck extended, looks up at me and goes back to feeding, serene, unperturbed, almost too trusting. Then all at once she springs up the hillside in long flowing strides, elegant, weightless, streaming with beauty, leaving me breathless. I stand in her place and try to fill the space she left with my own awareness, grazing where she had on flowers and grasses. The meadow expands within and without me, inviting my gaze from one edge to the other, each blade of grass and glowing petal singing in sunlight, smiling and waving, intensely alive, totally present, revealed in detail, color, and texture. The air all around is a bright liquid substance washing, uniting all things together, like seeing one world in the light of another. There are no distances nearer or farther inside or out, just single perception, the whole and the parts all flowing together, a symphonic seeing, something like singing, word become flesh of blade and flower, word become song, song become meadow, a clear, bright breeze blows through the trees, playing through the bright yellow faces, wave upon wave bowing and spring in gay unison. I join in their singing. The wind grows stronger, the light shines brighter, the wild flowers hold me, their bright yellow faces turn toward me as though happy to see me, like gay happy children, trusting, delighting just to be seen, to be known and discovered. I smile and raise a hand in greeting, creature to creature, brother to brother. Yet I find that I'm more than a creature, a brother to these, though I'm happy to be one. I can see what they can't, can witness their beauty, can take what we share, this radiant being, this free gift of life, of feeling and breathing, and lift it into higher awareness, ecstatic knowing, praise and rejoicing. I'm brought here to do what only a son can, conscious and made in the Maker's own image, able to know him in these his children, to appreciate, bless, and make intercession, to give them a voice and to show them his love, the meaning of sonship, the human vocation. A shepherd psalmist once sat on a hillside surrounded by stars, near glories of heaven, and asked, "What is man that thou art mindful? You made him a little lower than the angels, and crowned him with every glory and honor. You made him ruler over the works of your hands, you put everything under his feet. Everything living, even sequoias, these ancient giants soaring above us. And what will we do with them? What have we been doing with all of these lives entrusted to us, everything living?" I pause to reflect in shame and in sorrow and pray for a better day, maybe tomorrow, that He may restore the original blessing of innocent beauty to all of creation, and these and ourselves to our place in heaven, here brightly reflected in forest and meadow. This piece is taken from Chapter 4 of my book, Song of Ascents, available on Amazon.com. See link below. The poetry may also be found on my WordPress blog, see link below. I hope it has inspired you.